Welcome back to the Always Aggressive podcast. Cory, Tanner Lipsett, and head coach Tony Ersland here to talk about the latest happenings in the Purdue wrestling world. Guys, Coach, you had the Big Ten opening duel on Sunday against Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights came to town, took the duel 6-4 and 26-13 overall on the team score. Just before we get into specific matches, overall, what'd you like, what'd you not like about what you saw from your team on Sunday?
Some really good performances, obviously, when you get four matches from a balanced team, a strong team. I think they're ranked 13th or 14th in the latest dual rankings. I mean, they're a very balanced, tough squad. So, four matches was good, not good enough. I would have liked to seen us capitalize on a couple of opportunities to make that duel really interesting. If you look at it, we let 74 get away from us with a pin, and that's a match where if you can take that deep, because the Turley kid at 74 has a lot of big moves and can score points quickly. If we could take that match deep and turn that result around, that's a 9-point swing, makes that duel really interesting. 84 was very, very tight. 49 we thought was a match that was also going to be within our grasp. So, as you do, right, you're sitting around looking at how you could have won the duel and made it go the way you wanted. So really disappointed. Just, anytime you lose, you're disappointed, but excited that, hey, you see where we could have made that go our way, where we can improve. So two sides of the coin. Like on one aspect of it, man, I walked out, pretty disappointed because you felt like you were very close in terms of getting another match or two to go your way, that you could have made your go your way, and the result's different. But at the same time, it's a good team and you didn't get it done. So really a mixed bag, as those things kind of are. You celebrate the good performances, and then, you're immediately looking at how you could have made it go your way. So really two sides of the coin on that for me, I guess.
Tony, I know how you feel about moral victories and that they don't exist. But more, I wanted to kind of, you talk about some of those matches that, could have gone either way, and, they were tight or so on and so forth. And do you take any solace? Do you take some positive viewpoints from, we had a lot of those matches, specifically, you brought up 49, where early in the match it was really tight. There were some incredible flurries that, an inch this way or an inch that way, and maybe we wind up on top with a 7-point move, or there's a variety of things that could have blown the duel open one way or the other. What do you do with that information as the head coach and as you work with those specific athletes going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it just signifies, right? Like in any contest, you take any other contest, there's always moments that you look back and you see, win or lose, that shape the duel in favor of who eventually secured the win. And that's how I look at it for us is 49 and especially 84. We had opportunities. We created scoring opportunities, whether we were in the leg and took stalemates like we did at 84 or 49, where, like you said, you just turn the wrong way on your finish and you miss it. And that could have been, hey, first points to us, and we send the direction. If you look at the statistics that show, hey, first takedown still wins a huge majority of the matches. And we were there and close to getting what we wanted out of those early minutes of the match as far as first points and dictating what's going to happen next. But through, hey, you miss a finish or you were just a little out of position, didn't take advantage of the opportunity you had. And so it's going back and understanding that fixing this aspect of it. And I don't want to get too specific, right? But sure, you always look at, here's where we missed, and here was the reason why. And so once you identify it, then you go to work on fixing it. And then then you flush it and you forget it and you move forward. And that's what you got to do. Because I know we're going to talk about, Iowa and Nebraska later, but that you look at the film, you identify where your opportunities were, why you missed it, how you're going to fix it. You go to work on fixing it, and then you forget it and you move forward, So that's what we've tried to do this week as far as identifying why we didn't get the result we wanted. and then we're fixing it, those situations, and then we're moving forward.
You brought up 74 and how, that one got away from us early, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think, matches like that are crazy. I feel like they don't speak, obviously huge ramifications for the duel in question. Yeah. I don't always feel like those matches say a lot about one wrestler or the other based on the fact, it happened so quickly that, that's not it's not a reflection of 7 minutes. Again, head coach, putting the coaching cap back on, like, how do you deal with that going forward, in kind of preparing and looking at those individual guys?
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, it's the same process, right? I mean, I've always said I don't like to just be event driven. I don't want to be a result, and then now, hey, that drives whether we feel good or bad, right? The process stays the same. So it's the same with Brody. Here's where you made a big mistake, and unfortunately, right, like, nobody's perfect. There's always small little errors in every performance that you make. The goal, though, right, is don't make the mistake you can't recover from, right? That's just life,
right?
In sports, don't make the mistake that's going to cost you everything: the match, the duel, whatever the contest is. And unfortunately, he made it. He made the mistake he couldn't recover from because he got pinned. Just like life, man. Don't make a mistake where you go to jail for life. You ain't recovering from that, right? You make that kind of a mistake. So.
Extreme comparison, but I like it.
Yeah,
that's severe. I get it. I mean, that's a severe example, not meant to be that severe for sure. I mean, I apologize if anybody's offended.
We went to a dark place, ladies and gentlemen.
But appropriate, right? Like, don't make the mistake you can't recover from. All right? I'm going to stick by my words, not my example.
Yep.
Okay, fans?
Okay, we're good.
Listen to what I'm saying. Just flush the example. Gone.
Don't go to prison, boys and girls.
Don't go to prison. Yeah, prison is bad. Okay. But for like Brody, yeah. Here's where you gave him a position where he could be strong from. That's not where we wanted to wrestle. Yep. Now you go through how you correct it. There's the quickest path to getting better is that how do you correct it? So that's all we focus on. You see where you made the mistake, you identify it so they understand this is where we couldn't wrestle from or shouldn't have been wrestling from. And then here's how we fix what's going on. And then you stay with the fixing is a process. You stay with it and you continue to work on it until he understands it. And then you move on, you move forward. You don't sit there and dwell and, Brody felt bad enough. You know what I mean? He took it on the chin. That's a tough deal. He was getting ready to, going in, I'm winning this match. I'm ready. I feel great. I've prepared hard. He was talking to himself in the right way and he was looking good. He made the mistake he couldn't afford to make. So, hey, fix it and let's move forward. And that's probably a boring message to people, but I think that's where you have to live. That's why I say don't go to prison. Maybe that resonates better with people.
Got to get through.
I hope it doesn't. That would make me sad, but speaking of moving forward, one of the key matchups in the duel was at 125 pounds. You had Rutgers' Dean Peterson ranked as high as 2 in the country during the season. Matt Ramos ranked as high as 1. Obviously 2 guys who are supposed to be right in the thick of it come March. And once again, bright lights are on. Matty showed up.
Yeah, I mean, right. This is, I hate to say it's just the time of the year, but I mean, that's just the kid, right? Like you see, as you get closer and closer to what you're fighting for, Matty gets better and better. It doesn't mean to say he's slacking early on. He certainly is, but right. I mean, he's getting sharper and sharper as we go, especially when he knows how people are trying to approach him and slow him down. I mean, I think if you watch the match, the Rutgers kid wasn't very aggressive. It was kind of trying to hold us off in certain positions and make it close enough at the end to win. And I think, Matty's understanding how to handle those situations better and how to pick and choose his spots. And he got the takedown he needed, and he did a good job closing it out at the end with position. So, he showed a nice blend of both tactics and getting aggressive in his positions.
it was a little bit weird to have a Matt Ramos match without a big, huge scramble. But definitely probably better for your blood pressure and the fact that, he went out in the second period and got to a leg and got to a reasonably quick finish and did his thing.
Yeah, had a stall call too, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like he wasn't standing around; he was carrying pace and had good pressure into his opponent in ways that we're talking about with him. So, yeah, it was even though it was a close bout, right? Score wise, he did a good job controlling the situations he needed to. Sure, I'd love to see him continue to score and widen the gap more. Absolutely, that's something that is still part of our focus. But I think he's doing a better job managing what those matches look like. We're in the early in the year. He wasn't quite as sharp maybe on some of those situations. I like where he's going now, and certainly part of that is seeing him train every day and the focus that he has with what he's trying to do. That gives me a lot of confidence in him moving forward.
Other wins moving along through the lineup, Grayson Clark with another win at 141 pounds. You talked a little bit after the duel about, and you mentioned it just with Maddie. You want to see guys continue to widen the gap. And I thought Grayson was probably a great example of that statement in the duel on Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt. For those with, how the match went, if you didn't see it, he came out, he probably took the kid down inside the first 10 or 12 seconds. And then he rode the kid hard. And there is some value in that, right? That gritty, tough, hard ride. And Grayson's tough on top was good to see, but we weren't scoring points. Mm-hmm. So when we got through the period and we had rode the kid out and it's 3-0 with like 2:48 riding time, now you want to see him pick up the pace and score again and start to widen that gap. And we didn't do that. And that's where, as you're talking to him and identifying where we can be better, it's, hey, keep the pressure on him. He just carried you, for 2:48. Like he's tired. All you need to do is go after him again. And we let the Rutgers wrestler, kind of pick up steam on us, not in points, but in terms of just hand fighting us and kind of making it an even Steven match the rest of the way. And I really thought Grayson missed the opportunity to really pick it up and lean on his opponent and widen the gap, give him a reason to break. So that's something, where, I think Grayson's going to learn. He's certainly in shape and he possesses the ability to continue to score. I don't know if he just got too comfortable in the match or, uncomfortable maybe with what the Rutgers kid was doing to him and he let it slow him down.
Staying on the freshman train, Joey Blaze, first career Big Ten dual win, just like Grayson, went out and got us a major decision at 157 pounds.
Yeah, and Joey's been working really hard on his hand fighting and his attack rate, like we're talking about, and did a nice job, continuing to attack and wrestle throughout the match, and that's why he got the major. So good to see again things that Joey's working on in the room start to show up, albeit still not perfect. He's got things to do. He knows that, but there's progress there as we move into tougher competition.
Fourth and final win of the duel for the Boilermakers came at 165 pounds. Another anticipated matchup, Stoney Buell and I believe Anthony White. Two guys that have been hovering around the bottom rung of the rankings, and a nice edge for Stoney that should mean something come postseason time.
Yeah, all of these wins, right, in the Big Ten are important. They all come back for seeding purposes down the road, so they're all important. And anytime you compete, it's important. I mean, right, like that's. I don't want to devalue non-conference over conference, but yeah, there's bigger stakes at the end of the year with qualifying and seedings, and so yeah, they're all important. And another case where Stoney did a nice job scoring early. And then wrestling a solid match after that. Didn't again want to see our guys score more. They think they all understand that. But against good people, sometimes you never know when your opportunity comes. And he got it early in the match, made his go his way. And the thing I did like about Stoney's match, even though this is a little bit from a defensive perspective, you get down to the last 20 seconds of the match and you're up by a single score. He closed it out with good technique, good head hands defense, down block, stayed very solid in his approach to finishing, so it was a controlled finish. Even though it was a close match, he controlled it to the end, never let it get away from him in terms of a scramble or an attack where the guy really threatened him. So while we're still trying to score more points, because again, we're thinking about my gray hair here, I don't need any more. We'd like to widen the gap a bit, but he did a nice job positionally closing out the match.
Not the only Boilers in action on Sunday. We also had a contingent go over to Alliance, Ohio, Mount Union, and their Purple Raider Open, and a pretty solid showing for the guys that went over there and competed.
Yeah, it was great. We've always mentioned before that wrestling is awesome in terms of you get to compete throughout the year, even if you're not the guy. And we only had 10 guys who got to represent us against Rutgers. So it's awesome to see a lot of these red shirts and backups get a chance to compete, and see how their hard work is paying off. And you mentioned like a number of successful trips for guys. Obviously Ike Rubel getting his first tournament win in his career, as he's still a freshman coming off his redshirt year, was really good to see. But a lot of the red shirts did a nice job too, from Orlando Cruz, Cole Salome, Ashton Jackson, like a number of high placings from those guys. How many guys did we place overall, Tanner? Do you remember?
Oh,
boy.
number.
We said
yeah,
10.
I've got it here. It's 3, 6, 8.
So eight out of our 10, or maybe 11.
11. 8 out of 11.
Place.
8 out of 11,
So,
top 6.
percentage-wise, you're batting a pretty strong percentage there. They did a lot of winning. I will mention, too, for people, Dustin Norris represented us over there. I thought it would be more valuable for Dustin to get several matches instead of just one, as we're trying to get him where he needs to be as well. So I think he was third.
Yep.
Right. As well. So, yeah. So, a number of guys had valuable opportunities to compete and get better.
As mentioned, Isaac Rubel took the 157-pound crown. I think, it's funny. It's worth mentioning with Ike. This is a kid who we recruited, wrestled 113, 120 pounds his senior year. We thought he was going to come in and maybe, fill in around 133 pounds for us. And the kid has done nothing but grow since stepping foot on campus. And, he's up to 157. And I don't know if he's done yet or not, but they I don't know what we're feeding the kid, but he's growing and has been an interesting surprise in the middle of the lineup for us.
Yeah, no, it's great to see him. He's always been a hard worker, right? He's always had some skill sets that you think translate well. But as you mentioned, he's been just bypassing weight classes as he's grown. He's finally, at least this year, settled in at 157, and it's great to see him have success. Like, it's the first tournament title for him, and so I know he was excited, and obviously he earned it, because he always competes hard and wrestles hard no matter what kind of a match he's in. So yeah, congrats to Ike, as well as the many others who did well for themselves.
Hayden Filipovich, Cole Salome, both runner-ups at their weights, 141 and 184. As you mentioned, Norris was third. I believe Orlando Cruz ran out of matches, but he reached the third place match. Before having to pack.
Yeah, what was he, like 5-1 on the day?
Yes, 5-1 on the day.
So people know you only can wrestle 6 matches in a day. So once you hit your 6-match limit, you're done no matter where you're at in the bracket. So 5-1's a successful day, pretty good. Obviously not perfect, but a lot of good matches, a lot of winning for Orlando. I appreciate you bringing up Hayden again. He continues to kind of get better. Had the Midlands performance we talked about, placing there, and then a runner-up performance here at the Purple Raider Open.
So, overall, a good day for them. A wild weekend overall in the state of wrestling. First weekend of Big Ten competition, and we talk about it often. It's no secret that the Big Ten is a giant, and there's we sent over 90 kids to nationals last year, and we expected throw a similar number out there this year, and it's just incredible to see top to bottom, every single weight, you see just really tough matches, upsets, highly ranked guys go down, young kids come onto the scene and, announce their presence. Just a crazy place to watch wrestling week in and week out.
Yeah, a lot of fun for the fans, I'm sure. Tough on us coaches, as we've talked about. I don't think anybody is free from that or safe from that kind of carnage. Like, you better be ready every time out, or somebody's gonna test you, and that's what we saw this weekend. A couple guys, right? I think the Frantic boy we talked about earlier, dropped his first match to Blockhouse. He had beaten Peyton Robb a couple days
what a
earlier.
roller coaster weekend for that kid,
right? So just a lot, right? I'm using 57 pounders as an example. Clearly, there's been a lot of carnage at 25 over the course of the season. That's going to be a last man standing battle. But I think this just can be said about the entire Big Ten, and we're only on the front end of this. We've got 7 more duels, to go. So yeah, it's a roller coaster ride of emotions, but that's what I love about it. I think it teaches you how to be resilient. It teaches you how to be mentally tough. To overcome some of those things and still show up time after time. And that's not for everybody. Let's just face it, that's not for everybody. So I appreciate the Big Ten for what it is and what it does for people.
Cory, from the fan standpoint, you're watching, you're catching up with the results every week and whatnot. Like, at what point do you stop being surprised?
Yeah, I think you have to, like, at some point you've got your guys you're cheering for, and maybe it surprises you if one of them takes a loss you're not expecting. But it feels like the gap between the top and maybe the 15, 16, 17th ranked guys in the country has never been smaller in a lot of these weight classes. Like, that's one of the reasons we're getting so much carnage is they're all so close. Like, the rankings are a week-to-week guess or a week-to-week reflection of last results, but it's not really representation of how these guys stack up necessarily overall. So, like, you look at, like you said, 25, there's a couple guys who are in the top 10 this week who weren't ranked last week. Like, the standings for Lehigh is as high as 3rd. For goodness sake, he wasn't ranked in the last poll. Like, it's crazy how quickly, because the gap is so small. And like you said, Tony, mistakes are amplified. You hang an ankle out, you're half a step slow, you miss a beat on the whistle, and you're trailing. And in the point, in the age of 3-point takedowns and 4-point turns, a guy can run up some points on you pretty quick. And now you're really in a jackpot, and next thing you know, you've taken a bad loss. Well, we need to redefine, maybe, like you said, Tanner. What's a bad loss? I don't know. A loss is never good, but I don't know that there's a bad loss anymore.
Yeah, it's going to continue to be very interesting. I think your point is really valid there, Cory, about how small the margins are between 1 and 15. It may even extend deeper than that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
depending on the weight, right?
A lot of examples where you got guys in those 20s, low 20s even, coming up and beating guys in the top 5, right? It's just, so that's the part that's really interesting, especially in this era where we still seed now every guy, in the bracket at NCAA's is 1 through 33, to continue to look at that data about who's getting on the podium, what does it really mean? So yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. I just know, be ready every time out. Focus on yourself. That's what we've got to do. That's the process you've got to be about in this league. You can't afford to look around or waver in terms of your commitment or your focus. And so, it's all about just keeping our guys looking forward and paying attention to themselves. Because if you do, you could get distracted by all the other stuff going on with outside noise.
Well, and something else that, every year, if you're an NCAA qualifier, it's an honor. That's a great thing. I think maybe this year more than any I can remember, like, you make the field, it's an honor because the depth at most of these weights is not 33 deep nationwide. It's a heck of a lot deeper than that. And also it's wide open. You know, you make that 33, you can go on a run. You're good enough to go on a run because we've seen it over and over again. And double-digit seeds run deep. Guys who are unranked take down top 10 guys every weekly, it seems like. And getting there is a huge deal this year. And along those lines, I know it's early, mid-January, but like conference allocation is going to be a big thing. And how you're perceived throughout the season is going to really, really matter.
Yeah. Well, and I think the youth movement too is part of that as well, right? Like you get these young kids, and we've got 2 true freshmen in the lineup that are doing well. They compete hard, and they're getting their hand raised a lot. These young kids are more prepared than ever coming in, based on the training clubs and situations that they've had. So you look around and you see there's a real youth movement too. So maybe they don't got a book on them yet, but they're making their mark too. And that just adds to the excitement of what's going on in terms of these upsets or seeing who's really a factor at the weight.
You guys brought up rankings. I think, great time to mention Matt Ramos back at number 1 in the country in a handful of polls. Number 2 on Intermat. He is it's awesome to see, and we've already established, like in the grand scheme doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
It's a nice accolade in the moment. You appreciate it for what it is. And he's got 2 huge matches to get ready for this weekend, and we'll get into that as we go. But, nice to take a breath in the moment and acknowledge, what he's doing this year.
Yeah. And we talked about not looking around or getting distracted by the noise. Right? And Matt's done that, right? He came through a very tough early season part of the year, right? He's weathered the storm. He's come out the other side. He's still as focused and as excited as you can be about accomplishing his goals and what that's going to look like for him. So he's right where you want him to be. And that's what you want. You can't get distracted, because you took a tough loss here or there, right? It's just, hey, stay focused on what you're doing. Worry about yourself. Let's be excited about what we're trying to do. And then that's where Matt lives. And again, it's nice to see him back. It's a nice honor. It doesn't mean anything right now. And Matt knows that. He's thinking about, the next match for him and what that journey is going to be to the end of March.
Nice to see Grayson and Joey continue to be recognized in the rankings. Stoney's getting a little love here and there. So continuing to make that progress towards March. And, this weekend is going to be, 2 huge opportunities for our guys, two great environments to wrestle in, and a bevy of highly ranked opponents to go out there and take a shot at.
Yeah. A lot of opportunities. You just want the guys to go out, be ready, compete hard, and make the most of that opportunity. And then be excited about the environment too. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that I want the guys to really embrace is this will be a fun environment to compete in. It's not always that you get a chance to compete in 15,000 people, maybe standing room only, in that kind of environment. Man, enjoy that, soak it up, appreciate it for what it is and be excited about it. So that's what you want your guys to do is really enjoy the moment and then make the most of it. And that's kind of where we've tried to focus on it, use it to motivate you to perform like you're capable of.
Friday night, 7:00 Central Time, live on the Big Ten Network. The Boilermakers take on Iowa. We could probably spend a lot of time, going through the matchups at this one. Once again, 125 will be a huge deal. Iowa's Drake Ayala coming off a huge weekend. Back in the lineup after Spencer Lee wrestled for them last year, and he and Matt are kind of running at a head-on collision.
Yep. Now I think that's the big one that everybody probably is looking at. That should be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it too. They've never faced each other, so yeah, it's going to be a first, and they're both highly ranked, talented kids. So yeah, go out there, let it rip, and we'll see where the chips lay when we're all done and the dust settles. But yeah, it's that I think that one is probably the most anticipated one, just from a national rankings standpoint. Obviously, every one of those is big just from an opportunity standpoint. Again, we've talked about what they mean for the end of the year and national rankings and seedings and just different things. So everyone carries the same importance. I always tell the guys, it's never special, right? Because you don't want to make something the buildup in your mind should never be too much. But hey, man, like when you work as hard as we work, they're all important. You work your tails off and what you go through year round to get to a chance to compete. Hey, man, put your best foot forward, make it important, and go perform. But it's never special. It just doesn't stop at that match. So that, I guess, balancing that from a mental standpoint is key when you handle weekends like this.
A lot of coach speak there, Cory. What do you think?
It sure was. And I've heard that nothing's special. I've heard that from Coach before. I don't know if I buy it, but he's a lot smarter man than me. So I'll go along.
Well, it's all in how you handle it, though. Like, now you're going to really make me do coach speak, but so I apologize in advance. But it truly comes down to how you handle it. Right? Some kids need their goals to mean less, almost like to loosen up and to truly perform at your highest level. You got to stay loose, you got to stay relaxed, and you can't make it mean so much that you're scared to put your best foot forward to not screw it up. And I've seen that enough, right? So that's what I'm talking about, the balance of, hey man, like this is my goal and I've worked my butt off for it. But hey, this is how I get what I want. To stay loose, to stay focused, in those ways. And that's all I'm really talking about, is making sure kids understand how to get the most out of themselves. I get what you mean, but truly your best performance lies somewhere in the middle between making it too important and, hey, I've worked hard and I deserve this. I've earned it.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to let us just bust his chops there, was he?
No. He's right too. I understand. We all get what you're saying, and of course you're right. It's I'm gonna backpedal here. Right here.
Stand your ground, Cory. Come on.
Well, I will say, one group of people that this Ramos Ayala match is very special for are the 15,000 Hawkeye fans who are going to be in Carver, because this will be the first chance they get to see Matt Ramos since he took down, the God King last March. So I'm going to imagine they're going to give him the business come Friday night.
Yeah. Listen, I'm sure they will. And that's why we've talked about, as a team, even about, hey, embrace this. Yeah. It's an environment. They all might be rooting against you, but man, that's an environment, boy. That's fun. You want that kind of energy in the crowd, and soak that up and enjoy it and use that in the right way. That your perception of that is got to be huge. So I think that's part of it. The other thing I will say though, and I'm sure they'll be, getting on him, but there were so many Hawk fans, me being an alum, that I've run into throughout the year that think a lot of Matt.
Yeah.
In terms of who he is and how he represents himself too. Right. And there's a lot of truth in that too. So while I'm sure for those, 10 minutes of the match or whatever it is, I'm sure they're going to be, one-sided, but I know I've heard from a lot of those people, that they do appreciate, kind of who Matt is and how he's carried himself.
They're a generally smart fan base and a generally respectful fan base. I will definitely agree with you that Matty's an easy person to like. So that's good.
100%. After Iowa, we'll continue west on I-80 to head over to your old stomp. This is the Tony Ersland old stomping ground trip, right?
Yeah, this is the reunion tour, right? Like, wrestled, for the Hawkeyes 92 to 97. Then I coached for 8 years, at Nebraska. So you're right. it's a good trip in this. It's a long road trip, but it's a good trip, and I get to see so many people. You know what I mean? And that part is always fun as well. You got to do your job and keep focused on that. But when we're not, competing or with the team, I enjoy catching up with people. So that part is always enjoyable as well.
Yes. You gonna stop off in Humboldt for dinner or something?
My folks, my brother, I got an uncle. I'll have some people in the crowd. We're not swinging through Humboldt this time, but I'll get my parental fix, I guess.
That's good.
I tried to get Tony to swing out of the way on Grinnell on Saturday, and he said no dice for me. So
go watch 100.
That's a true story. He did ask the question, and I politely declined.
The Pioneers, they're at home on Saturday, Cory. 1:00 tip-off, man. That would have been heck.
Growing up, we always refer to people like Tanner as pumpkin pushers. So,
yeah. Stop and see Grinnell basketball, checking it from the cheap seats.
Not that Coach Arsenault watches the podcast, but if he happens to stumble upon us, I tried, Coach.
There you go.
So. We'll hustle over to Lincoln for a Sunday 1 p.m. Central duel against the Huskers. I know it gets kind of old saying this at some level, but just top to bottom, a lot of really, really good matchups. Hoping to get a rematch with Caleb Smith at 125. Some great opportunities in the middle of the lineup. Stony Buell and Antrell Taylor had a great match at Cliff Keene.
Yeah, great match for Stony. Great win there.
Brody Bowman and Bubba Wilson should be a great one at 174. I mean, you could really keep going, but Joey Blaze hopes to get a shot at Peyton Robb at 157. Should be a great duel in Lincoln.
Absolutely. You don't expect anything less, from those two teams. We're talking about it. They're going to compete up and down, and we train hard to do the same. So looking forward to those opportunities and try to make it go our way. That's the only thing you can do is just, compete hard and make it go your way. You're going to have to go take it. These two teams aren't going to give it to you. So we're going to have to go take it.
Just to reiterate one more time, 8:00 Eastern on Big Ten Network for Friday night, and then Big Ten Plus for Sunday's 2:00 start.
Yep,
absolutely, Cory. I think we checked all the boxes today.
I think so. We even got some fun conversation here today.
Yeah, I didn't go too deep into the weeds. I mean, I know I gave you probably a little too much coach speak, but I enjoyed it.
We both got the bust Tanner's chops, so that's all that matters to me.
And you can't beat that.
Pretty standard for the podcast.
That's why it's the best of its kind in all the land. Well, guys, travel safely. Stay warm out there on the Great Plains, and good luck in Iowa City and Lincoln. Okay, we'll circle back next week and talk about those two matchups, and then I believe the rivalry duel with the Hoosiers, which might mean a little bit more this year.
It looms in the near future, but we got a big weekend first, and then we'll turn our sights to that.
Sounds good. Good luck, and boiler up.